Hey all, it's that time of year again. Geoff Keighley has emerged from his social media catacomb to once again host the Game Awards. You know, the award show, most famous for letting video game players experience what movie watchers go through whenever the Academy decides that us peasants are worthy of being told what movie was good this year. Which is to say they're both worthless. Though, they did add Joker to Smash Bros. At one time, so I guess that's something. Today I want to talk about the latest drama Geoff has brought to his award show, and how did they even manage to pull this off? We literally had this same exact situation come up a month ago with a different... Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Strap yourself in, because we're going to try and figure out how on earth a AAA game got nominated for Best Indie Game. But before that, if you do end up enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that fancy little like button, and while you're at it, why not subscribe and ring the bell to keep tabs on whatever I end up posting next. Okay, let's get into it for real now. So, I was scrolling through this year's Game Award nominations, because I don't know how to leave well enough alone, when, what do I spot in the Best Indie Game category but this? Dave the Diver. Now, I need to make this very clear. I have nothing against Dave the Diver, the developers, or anyone involved in the creation of this game. In fact, I actually haven't even played the game before. It's reviewing well, looks kinda cool. The issue that I have is that it's being nominated under the Best Indie Game category. Alright, let me explain. Dave the Diver is an adventure business management game released earlier this year by developer and publisher Mint Rocket, which is interesting because if I go to the Dave the Diver Wikipedia page and click on the link to Mint Rocket, it opens up... it was Nexon the whole time! Wait, hold on a minute. If Mint Rocket is actually a Nexon subsidiary, then wouldn't that mean that Dave the Diver isn't actually even an indie game? Then why on earth did the Game Awards nominate it for Indie Game of the Year? There are two main reasons. First, it's because the Game Awards are incompetent. You just gotta look at last year's whole security incident to... it's pretty bad. Secondly, it's because apparently there isn't actually a consistent definition for what makes an indie game indie, or actually any game indie for that matter. We can't just Merriam-Webster our way out of this one. From what I can tell though, some generally accepted traits of an indie game are as follows. 1, the game is created by a single person or small team, and 2, the game doesn't have the financial backing or technical resources of a large studio or company. These are important because they're both traits not applicable to any game developed by Nexon. Last I checked, they're sort of a big company, just a little big. Alright, so Nexon is definitely not an indie company, or anything close to one, so why did a game they publish end up being mistaken for one? I believe there are two main reasons. One is Nexon's fault, and the other isn't. Let's start with what's completely outside of their control. When a lot of people think of indie games, the first thing they tend to imagine are things like Undertale, Celeste, Stardew Valley, Shovel Knight, to name a few. Of course, not all indie games fall under this visual or stylistic umbrella. Most don't look like that at all. Take stuff like, Fall Guys, for example. For some reason, there seems to be this misapprehension that if something looks pixelated/retro, it must be indie. Look, my point is that Geoff's crew over at the Game Awards didn't really bother to do their research this year and made a super embarrassing blunder. Seriously guys, it just took a quick Google search. Oh, and just so you all know, this isn't the first time this happened. Earlier this year, Dave the Diver was nominated for Best Indie Game by the Golden Joystick Awards. God, seriously, does no one know how to do any research? Don't worry though, it's not all on the games journalists. Nexon gets to carry a bit of the blame too. In neither of these instances of Dave the Diver being nominated for an indie award has Mint Rocket or Nexon come out to dispute the nomination. Look, I get wanting your project to receive the attention it deserves, but you need to be willing to make these sort of clarifications in order to maintain your reputation, because man, this really doesn't look good PR-wise. Additionally, the way Nexon approaches Mint Rocket as a brand feels a bit weird. Legally, Mint Rocket is a sub-brand or subsidiary of Nexon, which technically makes it a different company. Sort of. In marketing, the practice of sub-branding is usually intended to create a separate identity for specific products or product lines with the intention of increasing sales or reaching a new demographic. It's the way Frosted Flakes and Pringles are both owned by Kellogg's, but both definitely have their own identities and don't tend to be associated with one another at all. But don't you for a second think that that money isn't going to the exact same place with both products. speaking of Kellogg's and sub-branding, did you know that the company split in October? Like, they rebranded to Kellanova and then created a new North American-focused group called WK Kellogg Co. But they're still the same company, though. They're like, all the money still goes to the same place. Now, what Nexon's done with Mint Rocket is functionally the same thing, just on a much smaller scale. By creating this new studio, the idea is for Mint Rocket to develop its own individual identity separate from the parent company. Now I hear you asking, okay, big deal, does this matter at all? Well, not really. Companies have been doing weird marketing wizardry since the concept of a company was created. They're also legally in the clear. There's like no weird devious action going on here. They even have the Nexon corporate information clearly visible on the Mint Rocket homepage and are very upfront about it being a sub-brand in the press release. However, if we take a quick jaunt over to the Dave the Diver Steam page, we see the game is both developed and published by Mint Rocket, until you click the link and it opens the Nexon publisher page. Now, at no point is Nexon trying to hide their connection to Mint Rocket, but it doesn't seem like they're making a very enthusiastic effort to connect themselves to the studio or its projects. The game's launch trailer doesn't even have Nexon anywhere in the video. Again, legally they're in the clear for this, but like morally it doesn't feel super great. Now, these are all my observations, and shouldn't be taken as anything but. It seems the intention for Mint Rocket is to create an indie identity for the studio and reap the social clout of creating such impressive products, all the while being associated with games like Stardew Valley and Celeste. Both games with a fraction of the resources Dave the Diver benefits from. Also, while a representative for Mint Rocket has allegedly come out and clarified that the studio isn't indie, to my knowledge that was done through a tweet on the hell site formerly known as Twitter, and from what I can find, it's been swallowed by the spaghetti code and it's not easy to find it at all. Okay, so now what? Well, we as a big game-playing community need to stop using indie as an aesthetic description for games. I couldn't care less if it feels indie or gives off indie vibes. The second we open the category of indie game to AAA publishers, we'll kind of lose the core of what makes these projects special. Personally, I'd like a new term to be coined to describe these games, preferably not indie-like, god-like. It makes me upset. We need some descriptor that can be attributed to games that have a similar vibe to Dave the Diver. I'd also appreciate game companies clearly labeling their connections to sub-brands, or kindly, shove off the indie scene. It's hard enough for these tiny teams to compete with you to begin with. It'd also be nice if the Game Awards would rescind Dave the Diver's Best Indie Game nomination, but, I know they won't. But those are just my thoughts. What do you think of the whole situation? Is indie no longer a style of game development, but an aesthetic? Should Geoff and his gang take action to revise the whole indie game lineup? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also vote for Pizza Tower, because I like my funny little guy running around. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to keep up with all of my future projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.